This is part 2 of my fight prediction video, UFC 219, the main event breakdown between Cris Cyborg Santos and Holm. If you have not seen my UFC 219 fight prediction main card video, make sure you click the link in the description box and watch that video as well. Let's get down to it. Number 1, size. Now, if you take a look at the stats, both Holm and Cyborg are actually the same height. Holm actually has a slight reach advantage. Now, despite the fight taking at 145, and this is Holm's second, MMA fight at 145, keep in mind that Holm, when she was boxing, she boxed at 140, 147, and 154. So this is not new territory for her. She was actually ranked number 1 in all of those weight classes. So she does have experience in high-level competition in higher weight classes. Cyborg has been a featherweight her entire life, even though she did cut down to 140 multiple times. But make no mistake, on the night of the fight, Cyborg is going to have a significant size advantage. She has way more muscle mass. She cuts more weight to make that 145 weight limit. So I definitely give the size advantage to Cris Cyborg. Number 2, power. And I think this one, again, goes to Cris Cyborg. This is one of the reasons why people are afraid to fight Cris Cyborg. Out of her 18 wins, 16 have come by way of TKO or KO. She has finished every single opponent since 2009. So definitely the power advantage goes to Cris Cyborg on this one. Number 3, striking. Now, this is a tricky one because on paper, the striking advantage should go to Holm. She's a multiple-time women's boxing champion in multiple different weight classes. She's also a former UFC bantamweight champion, the only person to hold major world titles in both, boxing and MMA. Also, she's a former, amateur kickboxing champion. So she has a very decorated striking background, but I still give the advantage to Cris Cyborg. If you take a look at the stats, Cris Cyborg actually lands twice as many significant strikes than Holm. She's also much more accurate, and she also has a slightly better defense as well. So despite Holm's credentials in boxing, I still give the striking advantage to Cris Cyborg. So number 4, grappling. I think this one, again, has to go to Cyborg. Despite being, a knockout artist, she's actually, in her last few fights, have really mixed up her striking with her grappling, with her takedowns. If you take a look right there, she does a really good job, actually. And like I said, this is showing maturity. This is showing evolution, because she's not out there just trying to kill somebody in the first round. She's really mixing up her striking and her wrestling and her takedowns. Versus Holm, she's really been primarily a stand-up fighter. If you take a look at her last 7 fights, 86% of the time she spent on her feet striking. I can't recall the last time she attempted a submission on anybody. I think, Cyborg is a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Holm is maybe a blue belt or a white belt. I'm not sure if you want to just take a look at belts. But in my opinion, there's no doubt that Cyborg has a clear grappling advantage over Holm. That if this were to fight go to the ground, I think Cyborg can absolutely submit Holm. Cardio. Now, this is something that a lot of people critique Cyborg on. They say because of her size and strength that she tends to fade away in the later rounds. I'm not sure if that's a valid statement, guys, because we've never really seen Cyborg get tired and lose the fight because she was tired. She has finished every single one of her opponents, usually in the first, second, and third round. She did go to round 4 with Marlos Conan, which she finished in the 4th round. Holm did go 5 rounds a couple times. She did it against Shevchenko. She did it against Germaine de Randamie. I think just based on the fact that we did see Holm go 5 rounds, and we haven't seen Cyborg, you're going to have to give the edge to Holm. Last but not least, fight IQ. Both these guys are very, very smart. Holm is a multiple-time boxing world champion. She's also a former UFC champion. She comes from a great camp. Greg Jackson, Winklejohn MMA, so she's a very intelligent fighter, but Cyborg is not a dumb brute either. Early on in the fight, Cyborg was overly aggressive. She tried to go for the finish as soon as possible, and we've also seen her make mistakes because of that. If you remember the Gina Carano fight, because she was overly aggressive, she actually ended up on the bottom multiple times, and Gina was on top landing some good punches, but she's really evolved in her last few fights, especially in her last fight against Tanya Evinger. She didn't just try to rush in and kill her in the first round. She's shown really, good patience, good striking, accurate striking. So she's really evolved in her fight IQ, I think, on par with Holly Holm. So I'm going to have to give both of these girls a check mark. If you do the math right there, Cyborg is clearly the favorite in this fight. That being said, I don't think this is going to be a one-sided beatdown either, because stylistically, I think this is a very good matchup for Holly Holm, because Holly Holm is a great counter striker. Cyborg is the type of fighter who pushes the pace. She's very aggressive. She moves forward. So this type of matchup works pretty well with Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm has a much better chance of beating Cyborg than Ronda Rousey beating Cyborg. And a lot of people are talking about how Ronda Rousey charged that Holly Holm got herself knocked out. I don't think, Ronda Rousey is not nearly the striker that Cris Cyborg is. And I don't think she's just going to, charge in there with her hands down and get kicked in the face and get knocked out. I don't know if this is going to be a very exciting fight. I think Cyborg's going to be very smart about this. She's not going to go in there crazy and get kicked with a hit kick. She's going to be very calculated. She's going to push the pace, cut the ring off, and try to land big power shots, but also conserve her energy, because this is a 5-round fight, and Holly has won 5 rounds multiple times. She's also going to be wary of her counter striking. She's going to be wary of the question mark kick. I do think that Holly Holm is going to try to land those kicks if Cyborg is ever stationary, but I just don't think Cyborg is going to stand right in front of her waiting for that kick. She's always going to be moving forward, trying to cut the ring. And I do see either a 5-round decision, I'm going to say 4 rounds to 1 for Cyborg, or a late 4th round finish for Cris Cyborg. So that's my official prediction for the main event, UFC 219. Let me know in the comment section who you got winning the main event. If you haven't seen my UFC 219 main card fight prediction, make sure you click the link in the description box and watch that video.